nation in our part of the world. It would be most foolish for them to do that because the modern world is not what it was when Genghis Khan, for instance, reached as far as Europe. On the other hand, the Constitution itself of the country defines our foreign policy. We must maintain an independent foreign policy based on amity with all nations, but at bottom, we must see to it that we maintain and defend the territorial integrity and the sovereignty of the nation.
Enlightened foreign policy of the late president, which was part of the Filipino ideology, was to make the Filipino citizen born to the world, wherein he knocked down all the iron curtains, bamboo curtain. He left no gray area for the Filipinos to go. I was the precursor of this foreign policy, going to China, to Russia, the satellite countries, and all countries of the world may have good relations with the whole world. And at the same time, the time has come with the inception of China, wherein the law of the jungle should be dismissed, wherein might is right, survival of the fittest. China, with its big population and the potential in advanced technology and military strength, has to be considered, and it can be a potential problem.
The China question is, can we live peacefully with China? Can we have friendly relations so that China is a partner and never an aggressor to our sovereignty and territory? Three answers to that. Government to government. The approach is we must have constant dialogue with China, government to government, on all matters that affect both of us directly or indirectly, and that is proceeding quite well. Number two, people to people. Foreign relations is really not so much about government, but about people. And so I would suggest an approach where there will be a lot of opportunities for exchanges of visits between students, between families even, between the young, and through tourism particularly, which will become an integral part of foreign relations.
The so-called China issue is the issue or the threat of China in three dimensions. The first is military or security strategy, the second is economy, and the third is political. On the matter of the military or security threat or considerations posed by China, the effective answer is that we must realign ourselves with ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, as the counter-equilibrium force in this part of the world against the three major powers, which include not only China but also India and Japan. We must make full use of the ASEAN Forum. Second, the economy. The only way we can compete with Chinese products is to increase productivity, which means that we must try and produce at lesser cost, or for the same cost, we must produce more goods. Thirdly, political. This raises the sensitive and extremely delicate issue of the One China policy.
We are all confronted with two problems in our lives, where the political ones are insoluble and the economic ones are incomprehensible. If Aneurin Bevan's Politics is a blood sport reminder, pictures a grim scenario, we can sit back and rest on the proposition that in politics, people like to give you what you think you deserve and deny you what you think you want.
Expose about the Amari land scam or deal. Would you, if elected president, order an investigation on the matter, and even to the point where a former president would be involved in the investigation?
First of all, we have to do something about our the land titles bureau in our country, real estate, because this is really quite a mess what we have right now. you own a piece of property, the next day we don't know what's going on. And next of this land scam of the cultural center, which used to be just water and now a piece of land. The land of the real estate in the cultural center is no longer owned by the cultural center. Why, I don't know. So there should be a real in-depth investigation, and whoever is the culprit must be really punished.
If I become president, I would order a review of the whole Amara deal and reopen the investigation, taking advantage of what the Senate has already done and what the executive department itself has already done. And particularly, not just pinpointing the blame, but perhaps to see to it that it will never happen again. Number one, we should clarify what really are the authorities of people and who should really be authorized to dispose of large tracts of public land. Number two, what kind of bidding should be established for this kind of big land deals. Number three, the kind of transparency of such a big public transaction must be defined better than we have defined it so far.
The point here is that there is a need for an international treaty now being advocated by the Office of Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD, prohibiting multinationals from bribing government agencies offshore. Along the domestic front, the points are as follows. Number one, was the land involved land of the public domain? Was it within the commerce of man or not? And secondly, was there bribery? And if so, to whom did the money go? The question here is, will I order an investigation even if it would include a former president? The answer definitely is yes, and with infinite pleasure, because no man is above the law.
The oath of office of a president demands that he must support and defend the Constitution, execute the laws faithfully, and do justice to every man. In the case of the Amari deal or transaction, if there was any violation of the Constitution or the laws of the country, I will expose the whole thing to a further investigation, and whoever violated the law, if he is criminally liable, whether he was a former president or not, he must face the rigors of the law. That is the law. And so therefore, if I should be the president of the Philippines, I'll see to it that this transaction will not go through if it violates the Constitution, if it violates the laws of the country, and if someone else committed any graft or venality in the performance of duty, so be it. Let him face the laws. Let him defend himself in the proper courts. Thank you.
What would you do to enforce our laws, to protect our people against the hazards of pollution? What have you done so far? And in answering the question, what you would do, would you kindly be very specific?
Environment is a central problem and a major national problem. And therefore, I would more specifically centralize and give attention at the national level the objectives of giving ourselves clean and green environment. As part of that, I would promote